volatile the environment is today for these storms to even have the ability to form. So that's that classic hook echo signature where you could get a significant tornado and see some significant damage in this vicinity. I do want to zoom out because I just want everyone to know that this is in adjacent South Mississippi. This is away from our viewing area, but since the storm is so considerable and so large, we are back on to track it because of what kind of damage it is likely doing in South Mississippi now. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal storm. You know, the rest of today, we're going to be watching for the potential for storms like this. I want to zoom out and show you what's going on in southeast Louisiana. So we do have this line of storms advancing to the west. Strong storm moving through Gonzales. The line is moving west to east, but the storms themselves are kind of moving more of a northeasterly trajectory. So none of these storms have any severe warnings now, but everything can kind of happen quickly. That's why we want to make sure you stay weather aware today, because some of these storms can spin up very quickly and drop a tornado, and it's just a matter of minutes before you really know what's going on. So I'll zoom in closer to the South Shore. You know, really nothing really happening yet. It's just kind of the beginning of what's happening. So this is just kind of a good sign and a good warning to let us know, hey, today is a day to really pay attention to what's happening. Stronger storm moving through Gonzales, moving into Livingston Parish. So this is west of I-55. That's a strong storm. Quite a bit of rain, heavy rain, and quite a bit of lightning. Gusty winds, of course, within these storms. There is another storm that has moved into northern Tangipahoa Parish. Again, this is Kentwood. That's a strong storm producing gusty winds, heavy rain, probably some small hail with that storm as well. We'll be watching storms that move in this direction, especially on the North Shore, that could turn very strong and drop very significant a very significant tornado. It's possible. It's a possibility for today. And it is happening. It is happening in South Mississippi. I did want to take just the warning off because and I do want to take the lightning off because you don't really see storms of this magnitude, I feel like, down here in the Gulf Coast. I mean, this is like a textbook. I am speechless right now because I can't believe the way that this looks right now. This is certainly a dangerous situation. You can see just how bad it looks on radar. That is north of Tylertown in South Mississippi. It is certainly sending alarm bells to the National Weather Service. They're upgrading that to a tornado emergency for Walthall County near Salem, Mississippi, and the rural areas of northern Walthall. And they just sent that update now at 12:50. So this is a very serious situation for South Mississippi. Walthall County, you want to stay inside completely. Protect yourself from this storm. This is a significant storm doing significant damage. This is a serious situation, and we could see more storms like this today. I will zoom in even more. If you have any friends or family that you know that live in northern Walthall and South Mississippi, you need to make sure they know that this is happening. You just give them a call and make sure they know that there is a significant storm moving near Mells, near Deanan. I know these are kind of small town names that maybe only, you know, a few hundred or a few thousand people know about, and it's really important that they get this information, even if it's in a rural area. People live there. This is a huge deal along Highway 538, along Highway 27 in this area near Darburn. It's moving towards Darburn. It's moving in that direction. You can see just how serious this looks on radar. So this is doing significant damage. This is a huge deal. This is ripping through this county in South Mississippi. I really hope that this is in a more rural area, and I hope that this is not really impacting people, but you don't know for sure. Especially in these really spacious counties in the Deep South. There are homes, there are mobile homes, and I hope everyone is able to remain safe and to stay inside and to wait this storm out, because this is a very impressive one. I don't mean to say impressive because it's not, it's horrible that this is happening, but the magnitude of this storm is pretty crazy. It's pretty unreal right now. I have not seen a storm like take this kind of shape, at least in this region. In quite some time. So it is certainly a huge deal. I did want to check back in on closer to home in southeast Louisiana, in South Mississippi, in our viewing area. There are no warnings now. There are no warnings happening now, but we are watching this line of storms advance to the east. So I do want to put the watches and warnings back on and the lightning back on, just kind of to show you what's happening for us. We've got some storms headed towards Tangipahoa Parish. One semi-big storm moving through Kentwood. It's It's just some heavy rain, some brief gusty winds and lightning with that storm. Nothing severe at the moment. These storms are west of I-55, headed towards Tangipahoa Parish. But yeah, we are just kind of in the beginning stages of this. And I want to provide some further updates about what's happening now. Kind of just like a wider look at what's going on, because like I said, this is the beginning of the storm kind of outbreak for the Deep South, at least for our part of the Deep South today. We'll continue to watch this line of storms advance eastward over the next few hours. Things look to improve once we get to about 7 o'clock tonight. We've been talking about this extremely high situation, or extremely dangerous situation possible today for the Deep South, the 5 out of 5 risk, which is being realized for Mississippi now and for parts of Alabama, parts of Mississippi. And it's happening now, and we're still here at home and at a level 4 out of 5 risk. So it's not quite as high, but it's certainly pretty significant for us to have this risk for the North Shore and for the New Orleans Metro is included in this. The risk isn't as high for the New Orleans Metro, but there's still a threat today for some strong to severe storms for the metro area. So North Shore, river parishes, South Mississippi included in this. So this is something, of course, we've been monitoring for days, and we are continuing to monitor the latest on this. There's actually new updates coming in from the National Weather Service. I'll pop the radar back on just because it's such a considerable threat for South Mississippi. Someone in Mississippi from the State Department of Health said that he is hearing in Walthall County that campers have been overturned and people are being impacted by this in their campers in South Mississippi. So this is an extremely dangerous situation for Walthall County in South Mississippi. I'll zoom back in. This is basically this is a tornado emergency for them. So I just wanted to throw this back on and show you what is happening there and just how significant that storm is. So just to kind of let this be a reminder to stay weather aware throughout the course of our Saturday, because we can see these significant storms pop up. I just wanted to walk you through kind of the precision cast outlook for today so we can get a better idea on timing for our immediate area and in South Mississippi. I know we have this huge significant tornado happening for our neighbors in South Mississippi, but I wanted to pay attention and back down to what we've got going on for the rest of today. So as the line advances eastward, these storms for us as we go into the afternoon can bring those wind gusts possibly up to 50 or 60 miles per hour, and the risk for some hail and again tornadoes. The risk for significant tornadoes is higher on the North Shore, higher north of I-10 and north of I-12. So over the next few hours, storms will continue to advance to the east. This is 3 o'clock. We're dealing with storms, New Orleans Metro, 3, 4 o'clock. We've got some strong storms happening across the South Shore. Some severe storms, again, happening across the North Shore, lasting until about 5 o'clock tonight. Getting into 6, 7, that's when our storms sort of pass off to the east and we'll be done with this. And we do have a quieter, nicer day on the way tomorrow. So this is kind of just the beginning of what's to come today. So, you know, certainly want to stay weather aware, download our app, make sure you can get weather warnings on your phone, on social media, online, on TV, just so you know what exactly is unfolding today, because this is certainly a big deal. This is a big deal weather event. And it's truly scary and a shame that people have to go through something like this right now. This tornado is long-lived, like we've been talking about. It's long-lived and long-lasting. I do want to, not to be repetitive, but I do want to just let us know that this is in South Mississippi, moving away from our viewing area, but you can see just how quickly how things evolved or devolved in this situation into something pretty bad. This is a tornado emergency for South Mississippi. So cities of Salem and Darburn just need to continue to stay in their safe place. And if you have any friends or family, make sure they know that this storm is headed towards them. Bassfield, this general vicinity in South Mississippi now, it's a tornado emergency. This tornado has been long lasting and has done considerable damage in its path in southern and southwestern Mississippi. So we'll continue to monitor these storms throughout the course of the afternoon, kind of taking a wider look. Like I mentioned, we're tracking some heavier showers, some stronger storms west of I-55. They're moving towards Tangipahoa Parish. They are not severe warned at the moment, but we are watching them to see it's possible, you know, these things kind of happen pretty rapidly and pretty quickly. We'll be watching for the tornado risk through the rest of the afternoon. But like that severe risk we were showing you earlier and the last couple of days, it was a bit more pronounced and a bit higher into Mississippi and Alabama, and you can see why. You can see just how dangerous this situation is for them. And you know, we're not completely out of the woods when it comes to the possibility of these storms impacting us, especially north of I-10, north of I-12, and getting into this afternoon and through the early evening. We're not going to be done with this until about 6 o'clock for the entire area. 6, 7 o'clock is when things pass off to the east. I'll throw on some other products to see kind of what the situation is with hail. Some of these storms certainly producing some small hail, like the thunderstorm in Kentwood, some pea-sized hail in the Kentwood area along I-55. So there is some small hail falling out of some of these storms at the moment. Also some heavy rain and quite a bit of lightning. So you want to stay inside. You don't want to be caught in a storm like this, especially with all the lightning flashing and the risk for, you know, quickly evolving situations that could turn, you know, pretty intense throughout the course of this afternoon. So this is a very significant storm that's continuing to move into South Mississippi, heading in this direction towards the northeast. Tornado emergency for them. So that is a significant situation. It's unreal just how long this storm has sustained itself and continues to move to the northeast. This is along Highway 27 in South Mississippi, again, moving in this direction towards Highway 43 at the moment. So let me zoom out just to get a better orientation of what's kind of going on at the moment. We've had a lot of moisture surging in from the Gulf. We had our dew points surge up into the 70s. It is warm, it is moist. We have an active upper pattern and an active surface level pattern that has evolved across the Gulf Coast. So the severe weather risk today was very high. A lot of ingredients came together. The wind shear is there. We always talk about wind shear during severe weather season, which it is now. It's springtime, pretty typical when we have severe weather come in the springtime. We have our secondary severe season kind of in the winter. We talk about shear when it comes to hurricanes, but shear when it comes to severe weather. We've got surface winds coming in from the southeast. We've got upper level winds coming in from the west, and it allows these storms to rotate, to drop a tornado. And with those ingredients in mind for today, that's why the environment is pretty much primed for these kind of storms to happen and do such significant damage like we are seeing in South Mississippi now. Again, moving to the northeast, moving away from southeast Louisiana, and moving away from our part of South Mississippi. So this is for our friends and neighbors just over the state line. These storms that are headed towards Tangipahoa Parish, they are big. They are big storms. There are some heavy showers moving along I-10 and quite a bit of lightning. And of course, we could see some small hail like the one we're seeing in the storm that's happening in Kentwood. We've got some brief gusty winds as well. You know, a tornado warning is just going to be issued now for this storm near Kentwood. That is the latest from the National Weather Service. A new tornado warning right now. It is just after 1 o'clock. A new tornado warning has been issued for the thunderstorm that is impacting northern Tangipahoa Parish right now. It is just east of Kentwood. That's where the suspected area of rotation is. So if you live along Louisiana 38 in northern Tangipahoa Parish, make sure you stay away from windows and doors. Get to your safe place now, a room, a closet. Just, you know, play it safe, protect yourself from any sorry, I had my producer talking to me in my ear. She's going to find some cameras to check out and see if we can see anything out there. Anyway, back to what we're looking at here. This is the tornado warning now. Northern Tangipahoa Parish, that's right there. That's Washington Parish. The storm that it looks to be producing a radar-indicated tornado, indicated tornado is just east of Kentwood. So if you live in the Kentwood area, along Louisiana 38, if these streets ring any bells, Highway 1054, it's kind of hard to see, Spring Creek Elementary School, in this area, which is just near Kentwood, that's where you want to stay inside and wait this storm out. We, not only will we have the possible rotation within these storms, we're talking strong winds anyway. Strong winds are strong winds. We could be seeing some pretty elevated gusts within this storm, 50 or so miles per hour. Which can certainly do some minor damage, some minor damage, and maybe knock out some power. So this is a strong storm capable of producing a tornado. It is moving just east of Kentwood along Louisiana 38. Again, these storms themselves are moving by rapidly to the northeast. Kind of a zoomed out look. This is northern Tangi. This is Washington Parish. The tornado warning does include Washington Parish, the northernmost part of it, but the worst part of the storm itself is moving east of Kentwood now. I'll zoom out even more to kind of get a better orientation of what's happening. This storm here started to take on this characteristic look of rotation where winds are going in opposite direction and where you can get these storms to produce a tornado. So it's just radar indicated now. There is no confirmation of anything at this point, but we're going to continue to watch and see if there's any signature on any debris signature. It's possible there could be some debris being lofted in the air. You can kind of see these different colors here that indicates there could be some tree branches, leaves, maybe some shingles, things of that nature being lofted into the air. So it's kind of expansive where you can't really get a good idea as to like a localized area of rotation on here, but there could be some debris at least being tossed around kind of up aloft, higher off the ground in this storm, because it is shaping up to be one of those stronger storms. It's like this pathway. This is where the significant one was earlier, and this is where the new one is now. So it's almost like in that same zone, that same environment it's tapping into to be able to get a rotating thunderstorm, at least a radar indicated rotation at the moment we're showing you here. So we'll pull back up on the storm relative velocity. This gives you a good idea of where a suspected tornado would be. It's along the Louisiana 38. This is a suspected area of rotation. So again, northern Tangipahoa Parish needs to stay aware today. Stay in their safe place and just wait the storm out, wait for it to pass. If you know anyone that lives kind of near Spring Creek Elementary, near Midway Church, Lewiston Road, Spring Creek Ball Field, this area is where the suspected tornado is. So that is kind of the area of concern at the moment. Again, this storm, I'll put some motion on it to show you where it's headed. The different colors, like what I was mentioning before, the green indicates the winds that are going towards the radar site, and the radar site is in Hammond. The red indicates the winds that are going away from the radar site. So you get that twisting motion, and you can see just how quickly it came together. It quickly spun up, and now we're dealing with a possible tornado, possibly, lofting some debris in the air. So we'll continue to watch this as it progresses eastward in northern Tangipahoa Parish. So if you live in northern Tangi, stay in your safe spot now. Like I mentioned, like a bathroom, a closet, just away from any windows and doors. Give your friends and family a call, make sure they know. They might already know by now because these storms are loud and they are kind of blowing through the North Shore and blowing through South Mississippi. So I think everyone is pretty much aware that this is happening up there. It's just these storms can become so volatile so quickly and drop these tornadoes. And we're going to continue to watch and see how this unfolds in the next several minutes as we wait for the latest radar scan. I'll pull back up the reflectivity, this traditional look of radar to show you the rain and the lightning and kind of the shape of this storm as it kind of looks more like it's kind of spinning around and trying to wrap around itself. And that's the alarming part. That's what's alarming, that it can kind of wrap around and do a rotating motion. And as it continues to pull up to the northeast, can it tap into that environment where that other storm was and get worse? Right now, the latest scan has the storm kind of not as well structured, which is a good sign. I did want to pull back up a different piece of information to look and see. Well, kind of looking at this though, I take that back. I think that scan might have just been a little bit messy. I think the rain might have just been kind of covering it. I think that, okay, here we go. We're looking at the winds. You can see the rotation is clearly still indicated here on our storm velocity. That's why we look at different products, because sometimes the rain can kind of disguise what's happening. You look at the wind product and you can see that the winds are still wrapping around itself, and this is where the suspected rotation, the suspected tornado would be. I'll zoom in even more. I know it's kind of hard to see, kind of recognize where you're at here, but this is Louisiana 38. Lewiston Road, again, near Spring Creek Ball Field. In this general vicinity, we're watching this suspected tornado, radar indicated tornado now. I will zoom out once again to put some motion on the storm. Still watching it kind of rapidly push off to the northeast. Zoom out even more to see what's coming in on the backside of this storm. Just kind of a messy area of thunderstorms behind this tornado warning, which is in effect for the next several minutes. the warning itself, again, like I mentioned, includes parts of Washington Parish, but the storm still is located in Tangi, and it's going to continue to move in this northeasterly direction, so it'll just clip the northwesternmost part of Washington Parish in the next several minutes. And then it will eventually make its way towards Tylertown in South Mississippi. So that's where we're at right now. The most significant part of it is making its way into the most northeastern part of Tangi, and it will start to graze and clip into Washington Parish in just a few minutes. So I want to zoom out and just pay attention to any other storms that are on the map here. We're watching for these on the back side of this, west of I-55. We'll be watching to see if these can wrap around, if these can produce a tornado. It's in that environment now where things fire up very easily. So we'll continue to monitor this. Actually, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued farther back to the west, a little bit farther west than our area. That would be towards Jackson, Louisiana. So a little bit farther to the west, but again, a sign of things to come where these storms are very strong and can certainly turn very strong. And I want to zoom back into the tornado warning to get you an idea as to what's happening here. So we've got the warning. I want to pull up the hail tracker to see if there's any. Yep, so we've got some hail falling out of this storm, a little bit bigger than pea-sized hail. So we do have some hail likely falling out of this storm. I'll use our product that can detect an area of rotation, which we are, of course, discussing just a moment ago, near Louisiana 38. So you can clearly see on our product here that kind of tracks where a possible tornado is, can show you where this is unfolding. Again, that's along near Louisiana 38 in northern Tangipahoa Parish. So that is the place where you definitely want to stay inside and make sure you just wait this storm out, because it is certainly could be, causing some debris to being lofted up in the air. I did want to throw the debris kind of product back on and check and see if there's any big signs of anything being thrown up into the air. It's not overwhelming. I do think that there is something kind of going on here. There could be some tree branches, some shingles kind of being tossed up with this pretty strong storm. So it's possible that this storm could be doing that, could be tossing some debris aloft at the moment. And that is right near the state line. Here's Mississippi, here's Tangipahoa Parish, the northernmost part of it. So there's a lot to track, there's a lot to look out for today. I did want to continue to note that this is kind of just the beginning of how the afternoon is going to look. Storms are going to continue to intensify going into the rest of today. So if you're just joining us now, it's 1:10 in the afternoon. There is a tornado warning in effect for northern Tangipahoa Parish and Washington Parish and adjacent Mississippi counties. The storm itself is pretty strong right now in northeastern Tangi. It doesn't look as organized as it did before, but sometimes the rain can kind of disguise the rotation, but the storm itself does not kind of have that characteristic organization as it did a couple minutes ago when it was scanning the radar. But still want to heed the warning, still want to stay indoors and let this kind of pass, because it looks like, like I showed you just a few moments ago on the rotation tracker and on the debris tracker, that there could certainly be some debris being lofted in the air. It's not as evident as we were just looking at a few seconds ago. The signature is not as evident as it was before, but it's still possible we could be having some debris being lofted up in the air. Taking a look at a different product here, storm relative velocity. Again, this is the winds that show you the rotation. Again, the green meaning the wind going towards the radar site in Hammond, the red meaning the winds going away from the radar site. This is a good sign. This is actually a good sign. The latest scan here shows that the winds are kind of separating a bit. They're not tightening up as much. This can change, though, in the subsequent scans. Maybe it wraps up into itself, but now it looks like the rotation itself is not as evident on the radar scan, at least from what I'm seeing. But still, we're talking strong winds within this storm. Definitely going to be seeing strong gusty winds within this thunderstorm, regardless if they're tornadic or not. They could just be regular thunderstorm winds. It is going to be a pretty big, impactful storm that is pushing now into South Mississippi. So I did want to kind of zoom out and reorient and look at it from that traditional radar look here on that live radar picture. So you can kind of see it's just a messy storm going into this vicinity off to the northeast and crossing into South Mississippi very shortly. So a lot of moving parts with this. I'm also monitoring the National Weather Service to see if there's any kind of new information coming in, if there's any sort of damage reports or things of that nature. Not seeing anything when it comes to anything comes to the northern Tangi storm. No reports of damage, which is always a good sign, though sometimes it's a little bit delayed. So that's the one thing we're going to see and what happens with this storm. But no reports of damage now. Like I mentioned a second ago, the storm itself wasn't as evident on our storm velocity product. The rotation itself is kind of more messy, meaning it's kind of breaking apart a little bit. It's coming apart. It's not as prominent on radar, which is a very good sign. You don't want to see the reds and greens close together. When they start to come apart, it's a good sign that the storm is kind of weakening. But things change a lot just because it weakened now as the storm continues to tap into a very rich environment and a very supportive environment for severe weather. It can spin back up. So I just want to, put that out there that, things kind of look good and then, a few minutes later and things kind of change. So a lot of moving parts to monitor. So you still want to stay in your safe spot if you're in northern Tangi, if you're in adjacent South Mississippi. The storm, the warning box does include Washington Parish, but the storm itself is already making the cross into South Mississippi. So I don't think Washington Parish is going to really see any massive impacts, maybe just right on the corner of it. Like that is the far northwestern corner of Washington Parish, just so you know what we're kind of looking at here, because I know we're zoomed in and it's hard to kind of see where we're at on the map. But the storm itself, at least the worst part of it, where it looks like it could be rotating, which is right here, is crossing into South Mississippi. So more storms moving in that northeasterly direction now. Still though, significant rain, lightning, some gusty winds for South Mississippi, parts of the North Shore, right near the state line. Certainly a big deal for us to watch. I'll zoom out again to show you what's happening on the backside of that storm. More strong storms that have the capacity to produce tornadoes are approaching I-55. They are approaching Tangipahoa Parish. So this is kind of the corridor of where the roughest weather has kicked us off this afternoon. And that'll continue probably to be the trend over the next few hours. This is the zone, the North Shore, where the storms have a better chance of producing stronger tornadoes and longer track tornadoes like we've been talking about. That's just where the best support really is for the storms today. I'm watching this storm west of Hammond and seeing what that does. That looks like it's producing quite a bit of lightning, of course, as you can see there, but strong winds as well and heavy rain and certainly some hail likely falling from that storm. We'll watch it and see if it has the capacity to rotate. Just like we've been talking about all day, the ingredients really are lining up. I did want to zoom back in and pay back attention to this tornado warning. Here we go with the latest. It's still, the warning now is starting to kind of get shaved back from Tangipahoa as the storm itself moves and crosses into South Mississippi. Like I said, the rain kind of makes it a little bit noisy on there, and it's a little bit harder to see the rotation always when it's just the traditional radar view. So I'm looking at the storm velocity, and this kind of shows me that the radar is showing that the storm is separating a bit, which is a good sign. That's always a good sign. That means the rotation is not as prominent. There's a less lower likelihood that there is a tornado. So that's a good sign. We'll watch it to see if it changes. Certainly something that could change as it taps into a richer, more unstable environment in South Mississippi. They are going through a lot. So I'm also getting some updates from our producer. We've got Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin is here. I know Alexandra Cranford, meteorologist Alexandra Cranford is in. So we got almost the whole team here tracking this. So we're probably going to be, going back and forth soon to kind of do like tag team coverage, because there is a lot to cover today. Like I mentioned, this is kind of the beginning of what's to come for this afternoon. And we've been talking about it all week, and rightfully so. We wanted to make sure everyone was really prepared for today, because we don't always see such significant severe weather risks like this for the Gulf South. So anytime we do, we want to make sure we drive it home, people know what to do. It's Saturday, everyone has off today. Well, most people have off today, and you just don't want to get caught off guard in a situation like this, as these storms really just kind of evolve quickly and they're pretty impactful. So this is where we're looking at now. The North Shore is kind of the zone to focus on. This storm, which is west of Hammond, west of I-55, moving towards Tangi, moving to the northeast, looks like a pretty strong one. So this is what strong storm we're watching. We'll be impacting Hammond very shortly, and we'll be impacting Tangipahoa Parish in a matter of minutes. This storm is certainly producing strong winds and heavy rain and lightning. Probably some hail falling out of that storm as well. I don't want to ignore the tornado warning. I know I keep zooming around here, but I just want to show you kind of our eyes are all over the place because the storms are popping up all over the place. Strongest of the tornado-warned storm looks to have crossed into South Mississippi. And you know what? It looks like, I'll try to see here what it looks like with our storm relative velocity, because I zoomed in with the rain and it looked one way, but then coming in on this picture here, it kind of shows you that the storm is still kind of separated, meaning that the likelihood of a tornado is a bit lower. Always a good sign. So I just want to keep checking back in on that. The worst part of the storm, again, crossing into our adjacent counties in South Mississippi here. Still some strong winds happening for the northernmost sections of Washington and Tangipahoa parishes now. So that's kind of what we're looking at with that storm. That storm is moving away from our viewing area, but we've got more to trek on the back side of it. We'll continue to watch this line of thunderstorms. Moving from west to east, I'll do a complete kind of wide picture here. Moving from west to east, but you've noticed these cells that we've been tracking, these storms we've been tracking, have been individually kind of taking off and zooming off to the northeast. So that's going to be the projection and the trajectory of the storm motion throughout the course of today. So we, of course, are going to kind of bring you the latest on what's happening. I know you're kind of giving me a look. I don't know if that's okay. Hey, so